From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022, direct from Santa Monica, California. The incredible great news is that the inflationary rate released earlier today and the consumer price index number came in exactly where predicted. But what does this mean for you, and will there be a potential recession on the horizon? All the latest details in today's breaking news from Santa Monica, California. For stimulus, the Build Back Better Act happening, and already $80,000 of checks, stimulus checks, part of an ancillary piece of legislation, paying out. And we're going to go over those incredible checks across the board. 6 stimulus heating up overnight because guess what? There's new concerns today about a potential bank default if Germany and major investors in Russian banks see a major default or decredit valuation of the Russian banks. All the latest details on this major folding event, and this is a 6 stimulus package that would happen at the same time as 4th and 5th. Then we'll go back to that Build Back Better Act that's going to happen, and the President of the United States changing and pivoting on his position on oil overnight. But is it a firm change? All the latest details. Meantime, what's happening with oil, and why did oil go up and then go back down? That energy crisis teeing up a major piece of that legislation, and I'll go over the latest details on that. Continued resolution, yes, got major updates overnight. And then SS300 got major updates as well, as we saw the European Central Bank pivot for inflationary rates in a way in which we did not anticipate. Will Jay Powell do it next in view of what's happening in the energy crisis at home? We got a big bag of money in today's recording. We're going to go over the incredible developing details of that 6 stimulus package happening at the same time as 4 stimulus recon, the latest developments of CR for stimulus, and then 4 stimulus with that first ancillary piece of legislation, $80,000 of checks. They already started paying out, and they're paying out even in New York. It's incredible. And then we're looking back at what's happening with the energy shortage and why this is going to tee up even more money. It's your money, it's inflation, recession, and oil concerns all covered in today's recording. We'll have all those details and more as we go into a major broadcast. And we'll have a preview of tonight's Evenings LA. It all starts right now from Santa Monica, California, as Afternoons LA gets underway with a preview of tonight's Evenings 1-hour special broadcast in prime time. Afternoons and all your money starts from Santa Monica, California this very afternoon, and the excitement starts with all your big money right now from the shores of Santa Monica, California. But first, I want you to subscribe, be part of this incredible family, and like that video, and away we go. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a beautiful day and hope the weather is good where you are. Major developing details overnight with oil and gas prices surging in different directions. Recessionary concerns at issue and inflationary concerns as well. A pivot to maybe get some international gas allocated to our partner countries and a pivot to get gasoline domestically as well. Meantime, 6 stimulus heating up and those $80,000 of checks going live. We have a lot of money in today's recording, and we're going to start first with the Build Back Better Act. It's happening. The President of the United States, in a new series of comments, says the Build Back Better Act will happen. And tonight, in that 1-hour special broadcast of Evenings LA at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we will go over each of these checks in detail. They're happening, and they amount to about $15,000. 3 clusters of checks and 3 add-ons of checks. In that first cluster, hazard pay got in there for my essential workers. 1 more year of the Earned Income Tax Credit. Yes. $4,000 of elder care. $4,000 of care for young children. The $550 check for the college students, the Pell Grant, and the incredible money to home repair if you live in a low-income community. The first of 3 add-on checks comes from Maxine Waters here in the shores of Santa California. She got this incredible check in there for the purchase of your first home in just a little bit less than $25,000. How do you get these incredible checks in the Build Back Better Act, the Fourth Stimulus Recon? Tune into tonight's evening's LALATE 1-hour special broadcast in primetime, America's most watched financial news show in primetime. It's coming up tonight, and we'll go over each of these checks. It's 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. In that second cluster of checks, we got in there home repairs and paid leave. Paid leave, you have to stay home due to sickness or illness, and home repairs to weatherize your home. The third cluster of checks gets even better across the board. But first, we're going to go into the second add-on of checks. Comes from Bob Casey. Bob Casey got these incredible checks in there to provide the free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. How much? Oh boy, it's a lot. Just a little bit less than $250 billion got in there. In that third cluster of checks, we also have in there the free internet and the farmers checks, seniors checks, independent contractors checks. Seniors getting 2 checks on the House, 3 on the Senate. On the House side, the Medicaid gap fix and the hearing check. On the Senate side, dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, which is par for course when we're talking about adding checks to this incredible recon. The checks that will also be added in there, of course, are MSC. MSC is a body of checks that provides it on a monthly basis from IRS. And the legislators represent that they're going to add it in there to the viewership of this channel. So who would get it? Let's go over what the leadership represents. Everyone who got a third stimulus check would get a fourth. Tonight on that evening's special broadcast at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to go over each of these checks. But the eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check the legislators represent. Single individual, $75,000 less, you would get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, double it. Family of 4, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, you get as well. It's not income, it's not taxable, and it's offered on a nationwide basis. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and there you go, and rock and roll. MSC, one of the many checks that would be added to the incredible Build Back Better Act that will get passed. The President of the United States, in a series of new interviews, says that the Build Back Better Act needs to pass because of the energy shortage. Well, later in today's recording, we're going to go over what the president did to pivot on the situation for energy in view of what's happening with Vladimir Putin. Is it too little too late? Is it too vague? It's a big surprise, and I have my opinion about the situation. It's coming up late in this recording, and it all impacts you because guess what? If the current price of gasoline stays where it is, we're going to recession next year. All the latest details on that in just a second. But let's turn to the next question at issue. CR for stimulus. Oh boy, this got exciting overnight. Overnight, the House of Representatives passed a continuing resolution, sent it to the Senate. Now, if you've been with this channel for over a few months, this may seem confusing to you. It was confusing to me as well. Did they do this once before? They did do this once before. So let's be very clear. The House has passed a continuing resolution for a March deadline before. They did another one last night. In fact, they did 2 of them. So why are they doing so many of them? Just really trying to give the senators a lot of options of how to get this done. Here's what's at issue. Number 1, the biggest issue that was concerning us is gone. And guess who is not happy about it? The President of the United States. The President of the United States request for a little bit of money in the continuing resolution for COVID caused big at arms last week, with Republicans vowing to withdraw their support of $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding if at least 1 penny was in there for COVID. Well, last night, Nancy Pelosi said, I'm taking it out. What? Yes, Nancy Pelosi took out the president's request for COVID money. Now, if you've been with the channel for the last few weeks, let's go back. It never was in there. $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding was a bipartisan negotiation over several weeks when they had another bill passed in the Senate. House and Senate, Republican, Democrat, they did that with 1.5, which would give you enough room for a potential $2,000 stimulus check. But then, after that happened, the president said, I want a little bit of money for COVID. They said no. Then the State of the Union address, he said, I'm going to come and ask for some money for COVID. We didn't know where. I thought maybe he's referring to the CR. I was the only one who said this. Only one in America who said, I think he's referring to the CR. Well, he was, because 3 days later, he had a letter sent over saying, I want some of that money from the CR for COVID. Immediately, the House and Senate, Republicans, Democrats said, no, we're not giving you any money for COVID. Last night, Nancy Pelosi actually went against the president and said, I'm not putting any money in there for COVID. Let's get this straight. This is not happening, and there you rock and roll. So the money's not going in there for COVID. And what's at issue is that, finally, we have a potential deal at issue and staying in place. $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding staying in there, and that money is across the board. What's important to understand is that the allocation of $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding was a result of weeks of negotiations. And if you don't have that funding in there, and you do something different, then suddenly what's at issue is that suddenly the money is in the wrong place. So at the time of this recording, a deal is done, $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding, and it's in there, and it's in the Senate. So what are we looking at the current deadline? They're currently looking at this next Tuesday date. So we're very fluid. That's why you need to advocate. We need to advocate. We don't have an inherent clear deal that's locked and sealed, but looks pretty good at the moment. The President of the United States and his lack of getting that COVID money, don't know what he's going to do. But for now, we have a CR deal, folks. Let's just advocate to make sure they get a $2,000 stimulus check in there, because it's not in there yet. You want to advocate. Now, one thing you're hearing for the first time in this afternoon's broadcast, and I certainly don't have time to go over it because it's a lot of nuance, is that there is, congratulations, a lot of stimulus in this CR that has been put in there for local jurisdictions across the country. Yeah. So this is breaking news. The House, in approving the $1.5 trillion discretionary CR last night, provided government funding levels and funding agencies through October of 2022, but it also included funds for projects locally. Let me use an example. Out of Georgia, they got $30,000 for one stimulus program. They got another $12 million for the Air Force Base there. They got another $4 million for 7 funding programs led by one district. And they got another $5 million for another program. Then they got $16 billion. Then they got another allocation of funds for one senator's district. So while I don't have time to go over every district, if you live in one of these particular districts, in the case of Georgia, you may see a stimulus assistance coming to where you live as well. All very different. They're all very, very different items. Sometimes they're social reform. Sometimes they're actually checks. Very, very fascinating across the board. That is the status on the CR right now. Well, you knew what was going to happen this morning. It was the Consumer Price Index number. The Consumer Price Index number, which indicates where inflation was for the month of January, came on in. And I predicted it was going to be about 8%. So what happened? Let me tell you the number and what it said. I was right. The CPI number came in at 7.9%. So it was a little bit of a beat. It was a little bit higher than initially thought. And this is good news for you. It is about where it was, a little bit higher than the month of December. It actually didn't go down when it actually went a little bit up. December was 7.5. It came in at 7.9%. This is year to date. This is the highest number since 1982. The Consumer Price Index rose 7.9% year to date, highest growth since 1982. And this is before the real impact of the energy situation right now. The impact was most felt from gas, groceries, and shelter. And the other contributing items were some of the fastest pace impacts since 1982. Now, what's at issue is that energy is ballooning that inflationary number. And later in this recording, we're going to see why that if gasoline stays at the current levels, we're going into recession. Those gasoline levels cannot maintain where they are right now through the month of May, because otherwise we're heading into recession in 2023. More about that in a second, and those $80,000 of checks. But continuing on this SS 300 subject, Jay Powell is now in an interesting situation. Why? Let me go over the details right now. Why is this Consumer Price Index number so important for you? SS 300. Yes, SS 300. SS 300 is the opportunity to swap out COLA for inflation to raise your benefits up approximately $200 right a month right now. By swapping out COLA for inflation, what are we looking at? What is the inflationary rate? That's why today's number was so important. It came in exactly what I thought it was going to be. You know what my concern was over the last 24 hours. Would it come in lower? I didn't think it would come in lower than December, because remember, when you swap out your benefits number to a higher number, you're locked in. You want Joe Biden to make that phone call to swap COLA to inflation before it comes down. Why is it going to come down? Because Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, is going to reduce it. How? 5 meetings in 5 months, the FOMC meetings, to raise interest rates a particular percentage point potentially, and that will bring down inflation. So you want Joe Biden to swap out COLA for inflation now when it's high. And you wanted to ensure that the January number is high as the December number. In fact, it was just about the same. 7.9%, here we are. So what's also really good news is that even if Jay Powell pivots with a stronger move in the March FOMC meeting just a few days from now, it would not bring down the inflation overnight. It takes a little bit of time to water through the system. So that is where we are on that front. Now, here is what's really shocking. And this is why you tune into this channel. And I'm going to have more about it tonight on that evening's 1 hour special broadcast. Jay Powell governs our monetary policy in the United States and our inflation. And our inflation here is a little bit different than the European inflation. But let me tell you what's going on. The European Central Bank's head, ECB, and her name is Christine Lagarde. Her job is to deal with the same thing with inflation there as Jay Powell does with our inflation here. So Wall Street was looking to see whether she was going to do about what we're thinking Jay Powell would do today, later this month, today. And what did she do? She did something more aggressively. Oh boy. So she came in more aggressively for the European community today as the ECB president than Wall Street analysts thought here. Because the signal that perhaps Jay Powell will come in more aggressively in March? We don't think so at the moment. But she came in with ending the buyback program in third quarter in Europe faster than analysts thought. And this caused a shockwave through the financial markets. The data was that the central bank will not raise interest rates internationally, this is in Europe, but that they're tapering faster. Jay Powell, what is he going to do? My prediction is that Jay Powell is going to stay his course for at least 2 months. We know that because he said the first month last week. During his testimony on Capitol Hill, Jay Powell said, I'm doing a quarter basis point in the March FOMC meeting to reduce inflation. Good. That's good for your benefits because if Joe Biden swaps out coal for inflation right now, you're still at that 8% inflationary rate. The question is, what's about April? What's Jay Powell going to do in the April meeting? Is he going to do a quarter basis or half basis point? Or is he going to do less? My prediction at the moment is Jay Powell's going to stay at a quarter basis point. I don't think he's going to do more, half basis point. That'd be too aggressive in view of Putin and oil and gas and commodities problems. And he may do less. So I think you're good with your SS200 swap out now or in the month of April. Remember, if Joe Biden makes that swap today, you will raise up about $200 a month. And then even if Jay Powell gets that inflationary rate down later this year, you're fine, because once you lock in that higher rate now, you are good. If we drop to 4% later this year, you're fine, because that would be another $100 thereafter. Remember, your benefits are reassessed at the end of the year for the next year. So if a 4% rate comes in later this year for inflation, then that would be about another $100 across the board. But what's going on the energy front? And why is this setting up a 6th stimulus package? Yes, a 6th stimulus package is in the work that would happen at the same time as 4th stimulus. I'll have the latest details on this major developing details of the 6th stimulus package. It's brand new, and it's a preview of what's happening in tonight's evening's LA broadcast. Then, while you think of 4th stimulus as Build Back Better, I'm also now referring 4th stimulus as the ancillary 4th stimulus, the $80,000, because it's announced at the same time as 4th stimulus. The $80,000 of stimulus checks have gone live, and we'll go over the latest situation on that. Have you gotten those $80,000 of 4th stimulus checks? It's exciting. Then we'll be looking at what's happening with the energy situation, major developing details overnight, and we'll have a preview of tonight's evening's LA broadcast and a preview of tonight's streaming stimulus. I support Ukraine edition. A lot of breaking news coming up at the commercial break and the big money from third stimulus and those new success stories. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. And if you need assistance, I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as the excitement continues from the shores of Santa Monica, California, as Afternoons LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. and then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now in the second half of Afternoons LA as inflationary concerns and recessionary concerns grow, as the oil situation changes overnight, the latest pivot from the White House and why this is setting up a sixth stimulus package. Six stimulus would happen the same time as fourth and fifth. Plus, we're going to look at those new $80,000 of stimulus checks. It's an ancillary piece of legislation that started to pay out. Its fourth stimulus is coming up in the second half of this video. Then we'll be looking at what's going on with the economic situation unfolding dramatically, domestically and internationally, that impacts your wallet. And we'll have a preview of tonight's Evenings LA 1 hour special broadcast in prime time. We got a big second half of this video, and we're just getting started. But first, let's go into that big exciting money with these $80,000 of checks. You're looking at a map right now of what I'm calling an ancillary piece of legislation to the fourth stimulus package. $80,000 of new stimulus checks are now going live in certain states across the country. It's at the time of the waiting for Build Back Better to act and pass, so we're going to call this an ancillary part of fourth stimulus. And if you're looking at the map and you see your state is in the color of teal, like California, Arizona, Florida, and yes, even New York, it has gone live. So what is this incredible money? This is a homeowners grant program. First detail on this channel, viewers of this channel, because this is what we do, Purple Hawks. We pounce and get money before anyone else. We pounce and get that money because it's first come, first serve. How much, who, where, and how do you do with all these details? Let's go over it right now. First, it's a homeowners grant program. So you have to own a home. Number two, if you own a home, then you have to be with an income qualification. That's easy because the income qualification is the same as a stimulus check. Yes, a single individual, $75,000 less, we get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, we get it. And yes, if you're on benefits, you can qualify so long as you're within the income zone. So SSI, SSDI, Social Security, veterans, and well, if you own the home and you are within those income zones. Next, nationwide, yes, it's going nationwide, and while initially we thought it was not in New York, it will be offered in New York. In fact, one of the viewers, I think it was Dragon, reached out to New York representatives, and they say it's going live in just a few weeks or days. So let's go over the details of this money and what it is and where we are right today. You're looking at a live graph of the homeowners grant. And in the states where it's green or teal, like California to Florida, New York to Texas, that means it is live or about to go live. Live meaning it's starting to pay out these checks. $15,000 to $80,000 per household. And it pays for items that many viewers have asked for over a year and a half of the channel, like homeowners insurance, association fees, mortgage payments, also property taxes, utilities. And again, the payout is $15,000 to $80,000. Now let's make something very clear because this may be confusing to some viewers. This is in addition to everything else featured on this channel. So if it looks like third stimulus, it does look a little bit like third stimulus. You can get it as well. Let's differentiate the two right now. When we go over third stimulus in this video, we're talking about third stimulus for renters and for homeowners. So if you're a renter and you're watching this video and say, oh, I don't qualify for this. Don't worry, you qualify for third stimulus. That's paying out. If you're a homeowner, you qualify for third stimulus and this. So you're covered one way or the other with both items on this channel. That third stimulus money coming up later in this video. Again, pounce and get this money, folks, because it's first come, first serve. It's not unlimited funds. And again, it's $15,000 to $80,000, and it's huge. It's really this wonderful ancillary piece of fourth stimulus legislation. Now, sixth stimulus. In numbering things does not mean that one is behind the other. Whatever happened to fourth, whatever happened to fifth. I just have to give you numbers because otherwise you don't know what I'm talking about. A sixth stimulus package is in the works and it's going to happen. And we have major breaking developing details about this right now. Why is there another stimulus package and who's leading the front on this? This is an international agreement between the United States, France, and Germany to do another major social spending bill potentially in April for the energy situation. Let me tell you why, and then let me tell you how it lines up and what you should be looking for. The reason why is because these world leaders understand we need to get off of Russian oil for more reasons, but they also understand getting off of Russian oil causes economic instability. And that economic instability needs to be stabilized by one, raising local debt domestically. So France raising debt, Germany raising debt, United States raising debt, and then spending money on citizens because a citizen cannot afford the price of gasoline at current level. So they understand they have to give you that money. And why is this so important and happening right now? Because the leadership of Germany, France, and the United States are all politically in the same party at the moment. The date you want to watch is early April because that's when when France's current president Macron will see whether he's reelected. If he is reelected, that trifecta, Germany, France, and United States, will have three basically democratic leaders in position to get this spending out the door. Now, sound unusual? It's not unusual. First detail on this channel 2 nights ago, this major 6 stimulus package, there will be a local version of this already. Your state governors, Republicans, Democrats, are already proposing other types of stimulus packages that would provide you assistance because of gasoline prices, which they don't think are going down either. They're all doing different things, and unfortunately, I don't have the ability to cover every state in the United States of how they're doing it. But this is huge. Why? The numbers are very compelling. I've been telling you this for 2 weeks. Analysts and myself believe that if the current gas prices in the United States stay where they are through the month of May, we're definitely going into recession in 2023 and potentially staying there to 2024. So these world leaders understand that they need to pivot, and that's why Germany, France, and the United States are considering the situation. Let me go over how it's unfolding right now and what is really brand new on the situation right in the last few minutes. It's a very, very scary economic situation. And I don't want to scare you, but I want to tell you the truth of the situation. The brand new details today that no one has assessed the risk on is a Russian bank default. Now, you understand, and I've been featured on this channel for several days, that Russian stocks, Russian bonds are getting devalued, and their credit rating is dropping, and it's heading down to junk bond status. We all understand that. We all understand that businesses are moving out of Russia. But here's the problem. A lot of U.S. banks have investments in Russian banks or in Russian equities. And ultimately, if the Russian equity bond market becomes devalued, goes under, becomes a creditless value, then suddenly we could have a major economic domino effect in countries whose banks also invest in that. Not only the United States banks that have invested in Russian positions, but also partner countries. This came to a front this morning as Deutsche Bank, German bank, said that it's trying to manage the market risk of the Russia-Ukraine war. What is it doing? Is it getting out of its Russian investments? It said not to itself at the moment. It says it's not practical to close its Russian business. But Goldman Sachs said that it is closing its business. Now, let me make this clear because this is very, very important. This is hugely important. Closing your business in Russia is one thing. That's not what I'm really talking about. I'm talking about if you have a equity position as a bank in Russian bonds and stocks, and then suddenly you have to take them, you have to write them off. They have no value. You may have had $500 billion investment, and then suddenly they have no value. Why is this important for you? You may not be a Goldman Sachs, you may not be a Deutsche Bank, but your local bank, your state economy, your U.S. economy would be negatively impacted if the banks that our country does business with, that are partner country banks in France and Germany, take massive economic hits because their investment in Russian positions have become valueless. And this is not something we've seen since the SNL loan debacle from 20 years ago. If you were alive in that time or you studied it, you cannot have world markets implode because it causes a domino effect. Oil, one thing. Wheat, another thing. But the risk of a junk bond status for Russian equities, bonds, and similar is something that no one's assessed at the moment. And that's why six stimulus is going to heat up, because six stimulus is more than just oil. In the last 2 days, I featured to you wheat really going out of control, soybeans, corn, because they can't export them from the Ukrainian Black Sea area. I talked about nickel, which is among these many commodities. But when we talk about banks, potentially losing fortunes because of the position in Russians' banks becoming devalued or creditless, then you have major economic switches here. And let's be very frank, it could be as simple as the value of the position is no longer there. Then suddenly our economy shrinks because the banks that in the United States that do business, suddenly when they report their earnings in a few weeks from now, they'll say, oh, we took a big hit because we had a very big position in Russia. And this is more than just closing an office. This is closing out accounts that now have no value. So when asked about the situation, Deutsche Bank said that we're here to support our clients. And so for practical purposes, the option to close operations with Russia right now is not available, nor would be the right thing to do in managing the client relationship to helping to manage the situation. This is very frank because a lot of people have positions there and they need to get out of the position. So you as a bank can't yank the position without letting the client get out. Very, very fluid situation across the board. So let's go into the energy situation. Now, this is where I have to give you both fact and a little bit of opinion, because I do have an opinion about this situation. And this is why you tune into me, because when you look at this, you know that there's a little bit more at issue. What's at issue? The oil situation changed dramatically last night. If you watch an Evenings LA, our 1 hour special broadcast in prime time, you saw it break. Last night, the Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, who I really adore, announced that the White House will be working with West Texas oil producers to ramp up production. Okay. So let's be careful with our verb tense here. If you've been with this channel since day one of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I said the United States needs to ramp up production of gasoline domestically. I think that 9 out of 10 viewers understand this. And I think that almost any person on the street corner would understand gasoline is going up. Why not produce more gasoline in the United States? I mean, this is a very simple concept. Everyone understands this. The more gasoline, the cheaper it is. Less gasoline, the more expensive it is. Most people understand this concept. Very, very simple. What no one understands is why have we not increased production domestically? I don't understand it. So I have been detailing on this channel this sort of timeline of the White House not addressing the situation, either not ramping up production, not responding to comments, not responding to West Texas oil producers. Let me tell you the factual situation right now before I get into the commentary. Factual situation is that Energy Secretary overnight says we're on war footing, and so we need to stabilize and increase production. So she called for increasing production, number one. That was her comment Wednesday night. But this is one of those times when you really like good news reporters. Good news reporters went back to West Texas oil producers, which I would have done as well. Get the quote. So Jennifer Granholm just said increase production. Have you heard from Jennifer? No, we haven't heard from her. So why is she not reaching out? I don't know. We're waiting to hear from her. So they went back to Devon. Devon. Is it Devon? Devon. Diva? No, Devon. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. CEO Rick Munfreff, one of the big oil West Texas producers, and other people, and say, hey, have you increased production? No, we're waiting to hear from the White House. What, did you hear a comment? I did hear a comment. I haven't heard from her. Okay, so here comes my commentary. My commentary is that this is looking a little silly. That's the end of my commentary. This is looking a little ridiculous. We need to ramp up production. We need to ramp up production on day one of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We need to pick up the phone and call West Texas oil producers on day one of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and increase production. And we didn't do that. So the White House, in a series of interviews over the next 2 weeks, the first 10 days of the Russian invasion, avoided the question. I ran the quotes. They avoided answering the question, why have you not increased production? Now they're saying we will increase production, but they haven't actually done that. So again, first they avoided the subject matter. Now they're addressing the subject matter. Oh, and by the way, in addressing subject matter now, they said they didn't avoid it before. Well, yeah, you did, because you never answered the question before. Now they're answering the question, say we will increase production, but they're not reaching out to West Texas. And when West Texas is getting guidance, they don't have the answer. So is it looking a little bit like a the department store window on the street corner, and you go in and they don't have the merchandise in the store? Yeah, it sort of looks like that. I like that thing in the window, and I'm going to the store and it's like, do you have that? No, that was just for show. It looks a lot like show, and I'm not. I gotta say it. I love her. I adore the energy secretary. She has a lot of energy. You remember so like she has a lot of energy, but I don't like it. I make the phone call. If you pay the energy bill, you can make the phone call because you pay the utility bill. If you can pay the utility bill, then you can't make the phone call. So make the phone call, Joe. Increase the production. And I can run the quotes, but I'm going to run them tonight on Evenings LA. That's what West Texas says. They haven't got the phone call. All right, so that's domestically. Internationally, the problem is more serious. We can increase production domestically, which would reduce our price of gasoline at the pump. Here, why do we need to do this? First, remember, gasoline is trending higher. National average today from AAA is $4.30. You can't sustain these levels through May. If you are, we're in recession for 2 years. That is why you have to get the prices down. How do you get the prices down? Increase production. West Texas, very simple. Now, that solves our caused inflationary situation, but we could throw ourselves into inflation, into recession, even if we increase production domestically, if our partner countries go into recession. This is the domino effect. We can solve ourselves dramatically going into recession because of our events, but we could be drawn into recession because of our partner countries if they don't have their situation sorted out. And what is the situation? They need gasoline. And it doesn't come from us because we can't send it from us to them. It's too far away. And so at issue is what happened yesterday. Yesterday, a series of reports came out that OPEC Plus was considering ramping up production from Iraq for those partner countries like France and Germany. Germany, when approached the situation to ban Russian oil, says we can't because we have no solution set up. You have to understand, this is a situation that was there in October last year. I reported the situation. There's 100,000 Russian troops at the Ukrainian border in October last year. I said, hey, get ready. And the White House got ready. They sent a letter to Janet Yellen saying, hey, Treasury Secretary, what are the problems that could happen if that invasion occurs? So they understood oil was a problem. And I don't think that the United States didn't only think the problem was there either. I think Germany and France saw that problem as well. Now that Russian oil is at jeopardy of being banned domestically in those countries, there's another problem. The other problem is Vladimir Putin is vowing to turn off Nord Stream 1 and 2. Basically, turn off his oil for Germany and France before they ban it. Imagine you wake up one morning, there's no oil, and you haven't gotten the solution lined up. I mean, it's as simple as I need some bread and butter for breakfast, and it's not there, and I was looking to ban your bread and butter, but you cut me to the chase and suddenly I have no bread for breakfast. Well, this is a problem. And this problem has been around since day one of the invasion and certainly would have been assessed by anyone to look at the situation no less than 2 weeks ago. I had told you that United Arab Emirates could solve the problem, that OPEC Plus met last week and refused to comment on the situation, refused to increase production. And that is why gasoline didn't go down initially, went up. It went down early this week on the belief that maybe there's an Iraq option available, but Iraq is not increasing production. That was just a rumor. That was a rumor. So gasoline today is up again. The price of Brent crude is up today as well. Again, I think it's like 113 at the moment, while the latest details tonight on Evenings LA. So this is a very fluid situation. And the problem is that you got to fix it internationally. The vice president, she went overseas for Jetgate, which was a topic of the channel last night. It's no longer a topic because we're not delivering jets. Okay, so here. Get your pen and paper out, Ms. Vice President. I have a to-do list for you. My to-do list for the Vice President is you're overseas, go to those OPEC Plus countries and tell them to ramp up production for our international allies like Italy, France, and Germany, because Russian ban of oil is either going to come from Russia or from those countries, and they don't have an alternative set up. You don't get them onto someone else's oil quickly, then they're going into recession, and we're going into recession because of them. We're not delivering jets? Okay, let's deliver some oil and get the oil realigned. Remember, where can that oil also come from? Not just OPEC plus countries, but also Venezuela. Venezuela is the number one export of oil. And so, take the vice president plane and head to Venezuela and get on the plane and talk to them and say, get some of that oil to our partner allies. Tonight on Evening Dialect, we'll feature more about these incredible sums of money, but I want to get you some money, and that is third stimulus. The great news is that third stimulus is still paying out, and the viewership of the channel has done so well in the last few days. Average viewer has gotten $5,000 to $10,000. This is an addition to that homeowner's grant. So let's understand, it's an addition. Homeowner's grant is for homeowners. Third stimulus is for homeowners and renters. So where do you get it? Let's follow along. You reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. The keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You want to reach out to all 6 places. You want to put multiple applications on file. And you want to rely on those nonprofits and do multiple rounds. Now, the success stories came in overnight. They're huge. I'll feature them tonight on Evenings LA. Melly Pin got, she's a member of this channel, she got $9,000 for rental assistance overnight. Carol Moore, she got $5,000, and David Allen got $10,000. Incredible. So get these big sums of money. Lean on those nonprofits. The average viewer of this channel has gotten $45,000 for this money. Go get it right away. I don't want you to wait. Again, this is for renters and homeowners. That is addition to the incredible $80,000 of checks going live. Get this money right now. You need it in view of what's happening in that energy situation across the board. In tonight's 1-hour broadcast, we have a lot going on. But remember, if you want this big money for those $80,000 of checks, become a member. The membership link is under the video. Membership benefits include learning about these sums of money before anyone else. Starting last Friday, the membership newsletter, which goes out 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system, delivered the application information for that $80,000 of homeowners grant checks. It details in the newsletter the amount, the website link, the map information, the eligibility, the items to pay for. The membership newsletter also features the big money for third stimulus, which you can get as well if you are a homeowner or renter. That is the benefit of membership. The link is under the video, and I'll feature more about that incredible 2 sums of money in tonight's recording and those other sums of money as well. We have a big broadcast tonight. It's Evenings LA. It's 1 hour special report, and the situation is changing by the minute. The pivot from the White House on the energy situation, very fluid, and the situation on the devaluation and potential junk bond status of the Russian economy could send us in a tailspin. And I'm going to have the latest details on that and why that Deutsche Bank comment this morning, that CPI report this morning, and the move by the European Central Bank this morning, all is very important for your money. It's very big, and it's tonight in that 1 hour special broadcast. A lot of breaking news across the board. And with that, I want you to stay informed, stay focused, stay here with LALATE. I'll see you tonight in prime time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, as that big Evenings LALATE 1 hour special broadcast heats up for the shores of Santa Monica, California. Keep your prayers and thoughts with the people of Ukraine. And if you're watching this show, coming up next is Evenings LALATE. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and stay with LA for more.